you to your light. I'm excited to see you all, everyone. Welcome back. This is a Portal to Ascension production. New Living Expo and the Mystery School Cruise are also part of Portal to Ascension. So if you want to find out more about events, online and in person, go to portaltoascension.org. Now stay tuned because we have a guest that's going to really get us excited about what's happening with the comets, where we are with disclosure, everything you wanted to know about Galactic is going to happen tonight. Just feel free to put in the comments questions that you might want our guest to have. Now, I am Joan of Angels. I'm really happy to see you. I am a personal strategy advisor and executive producer supporting individuals navigating consequential decisions and transitions. And my work centers on clarity and discussion. So if you feel aligned with that, give me a call. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about our guest. She really doesn't need a big introduction, but Lily has quite an interesting history. Let's actually find it right here. So yeah, she is not only an ET contactee, a UFO and space photographer, a CE5 practitioner, a psychic intuitive and author. Her story and her UFO footage has been featured worldwide on Ancient Alien, the Travel Channel, LAD Bible, The Mirror, and mainstream media across the globe. And during COVID, while photographing the night sky, UFOs began visiting her. She documented these encounters with her camera, and as the contact deepened, she developed a relationship with those beings. We are going to hear all about that tonight. They taught her how to initiate contact, activate her dormant DNA, unlock psychic abilities, and remember her star origin. And now she's teaching all of us to do the same. Hello, Lily.
Hi, Joan. Thanks so much for having me. Very exciting times we are living in.
I know. Thank you for coming back down to Earth to tell us all about it. So let's just start. What's going on with this comet that there's so much controversy about? And NASA's been, saying that there's abnormalities, and everyone is really freaking out about it. So let's just start with what's going on. What do you think?
Yeah. So it arrives closest to Earth tomorrow. And I'm hearing right now, this is the precipice. This is the precipice of something. Like something is coming to sort of a climax or a gift. I'm also hearing a gift. So I'm getting kind of live tune in as I'm just right here and right now. I'm hearing that this is a gift for humanity. Now, I don't think it's anything that we have to worry about. That's probably why NASA went dark, or part of why they went dark. From my contact sessions that I've had with some of these galactic beings involved with 3i Atlas was that it is a ship. It's a structure, but also in connecting with it. So I've done a handful of different sessions on it, contact sessions, also intuitive kind of remote viewing sessions. And I've covered it extensively on my channel over the last few months. And it's also like a living consciousness. It's a living library, this ship is, and its purpose is it is a conduit of frequency. It is part of a disclosure initiative, and it is helping to activate our dormant DNA. I was seeing a lot of guardian races, cedar races that are involved with this ship. And some of them being Lyrans, Pleiadians, Sirians, Arcturians. A lot of different beings are playing a role with this. And yeah, being a conduit of frequency, the reason why it's come into our solar system in this fashion and has been interacting with our sun, which in turn interacts with us, all of these solar flares we've been having, which in turn activates our dormant DNA. We get upgrades. 3i Atlas has been dubbed 3i Atlas, like the third eye. So people a lot of people in my audience have been having more experiences recently. It's also kind of shaken up a lot of the shadows internally and externally on the planet, which is a part of the ascension process. You know, that the dense baggage that we hold within us, and that is in the collective, it can't go with us into the 5D. So you may have been experiencing a lot of symptoms from that, or seeing that out in the collective as well the last 3 months since 3i Atlas has really been coming in. And I feel like that's really just been preparing us. It's been kind of a massive purge, bringing the shadows to light. And I feel like humanity's at kind of a choosing point, and we're deciding to go to the next phase in this ascension journey. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, a lot of the information that I've been receiving on it. I wanted to add, so whenever I first heard of 3i Atlas, I didn't think too much of it, because I'm like, if it was an alien ship, why is it coming into the solar system in that way? Whenever they have the technology just to blip in and out, they can appear, they can travel through wormholes. And I did see some of these ships actually traveling through wormholes to get to our solar system. But the reason why it was coming in that way, because the whole solar system is actually ascending up. We're shifting up in frequency. So it's been tuning the solar system and interacting with the sun as well as Earth. So it's been going in, coming in kind of in a slower way, helping us to just raise our frequency and expand our consciousness as it is coming in that way, as well as the Disclosure Initiative. It's been doing things that are, it's an anomaly. It's been doing things that scientists don't understand. So it's trying to show us, hey, there's more out here. This isn't just a normal comet. It's changed direction. It's changed color. It's changed speed. Apparently, it's been sending signals and frequencies as well that have been documented. So it's doing a lot of fantastic things. And I think it's a very positive, benevolent shift that we're experiencing right now with our visitor.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So do you think it's like a prelude to disclosure?
I do. I really do. I just recently did a webinar with Dr. Sala on 2026 kind of predictions, and I was tuning into that. And I do really feel that 2026, the period that we're in right now, as well as the period we are coming up into, really is the age of disclosure. And it's a process, though. It happens in stages. So 3i Atlas is part of that. There was that recent film documentary, The Age of Disclosure, that came out. That's nudging people also. I just made a video on this the other day. Joe Rogan's having contact with extraterrestrials in his dream state. So things are starting to pick up. And I believe more starseeds and envoys and even public figures are beginning to awaken to extraterrestrial life and kind of our cosmic history. And that's going to be a big part of disclosure. And the Galactics, I feel, are going to be making contact with more envoys and more people, as well as more disclosures on our ancient history, which are starting to come up right now. That was one of the themes that I got when tuning into 2026, with some of these ancient hidden structures and hidden technology all around our planet starting to come to the surface. And just in the last few days, there's been a massive structure found under the Bermuda Triangle, under the oceans. And there was one other one off the coast of France, I believe, or somewhere near France. They're finding some sort of an ancient structure or ancient ruins under there. So I think a lot more of those are going to start popping up throughout this year, as well as a disclosure initiative that's leading us to open contact, but it's happening in stages.
Okay, so this is very fascinating. When do you think this open contact might happen then? I mean, because some of us are having contact, right, but it's not the same as open contact.
Yeah. So originally my main contact, which is a future version of me, and I've documented her ship. I've seen her ship. Her name's Talia. She's a light blue being with no hair, and she's from the Andromeda constellation. A few years back, I asked her, and this is before I was public on YouTube or anything, and I was having contact every day and learning from these beings. I asked, when will you be boots on the ground with us And she said in the 2030s. Now, there's different levels to open contact. So I think it kind of depends on us. I'm getting hits on like 2027, around that year. But I think 2030s is going to be more, it's going to be more open contact, if that makes sense. Ultimately, I think it depends on how humanity reacts and if we are ready for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can't do it too soon. So it's very strategic. So our consciousness has to hit a certain level and our frequency has to hit a certain level. I feel really good over the next few years. But I'd say, to be on the safe side, I'd say 2030s for sure. But I'm getting hits on some big movement happening in 2027.
But they haven't shown you exactly what that is, but definitely they'll be out in the open more, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I asked boots on the ground, like with us more openly, and she replied 2030s. Now, she told me that a few years back, so that could be something that I tune into more, to see if there's any, like, if anything has shifted since then.
You kind of said something in the very beginning that made me think that this comment that's out there is like testing us, or like whether we're ready to ascend. And I wanted to kind of question you more about that, because that was very curious.
Yeah. So that's one of the other purposes of this craft, is gathering information and kind of assessing how we're reacting and our consciousness level. And I think that's one of the big things that's going to occur tomorrow, December 19th, and that's in the works right now, is kind of an assessment of our consciousness and just gauging how ready we are and how we are integrating the higher frequencies. So yeah, I definitely feel like I said, they can't do things can't happen too soon, or it's not going to have the full effect. So yeah, I think our consciousness is being gauged in just how we're reacting to it, to see what we are ready for in the next stage of the awakening.
That's so interesting. They're judging us to see how we're waking up to this. How do you think we're doing energetically? I know our tribe is very much into disclosure, is going to be really welcoming it, but how do you think worldwide this disclosure is happening?
That's a good question. So like the first thing that comes to mind is you see a lot of people, they're like, they almost don't even care anymore, because there's so many other crazy things that are happening on the planet. Like, you'll notice that in the comments a lot. Like, okay, aliens exist, but what about the Epstein list? Or, okay, aliens exist, but I've got bills to pay. So I think a majority, they're becoming open and receptive to it. But we've got a lot of infrastructure that needs to kind of shift on the planet, so that people can focus on it a little bit more. But I think for the most part, people are pretty open and receptive. We definitely need to bridge the religion, spirituality, and science gap, though. Like that needs to happen. And that's one of the things that I was seeing for 2026, more movement on that, bridging religion and spirituality, so that people don't freak out whenever we have open contact. So that's why we're being prepared in stages. I think overall we're on a very positive trajectory, though, and we are definitely like we're in alignment. We're in good alignment, I feel.
So interesting that they have to take this in stages, where I'm one of those people that say, just pull off the Band-Aid, for Pete's sakes. I had to wake up. Why can't the rest of the planet wake up?
Right. Well, and then there's the other thing. So there's the 100th monkey effect, where your consciousness impacts literally everybody else around you. So even just from me awakening, or you awakening, or anybody in the audience awakening, they're mingling and shifting the frequency of everyone and everything around them. So the more people, and that's why star seeds and light workers are put all over the planet. And sometimes they feel super lonely, because they might feel, they don't have anybody. But that's strategic, because we are activating and helping to awaken everything around us. And so once we hit a certain point, like I think we've already hit that point, there's no going back. We're just going to keep going, and it's just going to keep spreading. And our consciousness is impacting each other. But it's a bit of a process, but I think we're starting to get to the nitty gritty of it.
I think this is amazing. So how can people prepare for contact then? And I think we're going to see Neil coming in a couple of minutes, which is great. How can people prepare for contact? What do we do to do that?
Well, and like you mentioned, and I'm a strong advocate for this as well, you can make contact right now. You don't need the government to tell you that you can make contact or that, contact is happening. You can make contact right now. So that depends. How do you prepare for open, like mass contact, or how do you prepare to cultivate a communication and relationship with your star family right now? I have tons of tips on that. Hi, Neil.
Hey, Lily.
Welcome, Neil.
So I'll jump in. I was listening as I was driving up here while I was in the Uber, and something that I love Joe Rogan, right? I love everything he's done and how he's helped, and yeah, at the same time, when I see people on his show, and even the conversation he had with Dan Farah just recently on Age of Disclosure, the amount of time they spent on talking about how we need to know this technology first before China knows this technology first, and how inherently scared they are, and it wasn't even like almost that it wasn't like Dan Farah was saying this in order to be fantastical in a way where he didn't mean it. It seemed like he really meant how scared he was, about other governments basically reverse engineering this craft. And to me, it's so interesting. Like, I'm literally listening to this on my headphones, and I'm just like cursing out loud, kind of like what the heck? Like, this is such a bigger question. You're so focused on this narrow-minded nitty-gritty of
Right.
oh my God, what if China reverse engineers a craft that's from alien life, that you forget to realize that there's freaking life out there,
Right. Yeah,
And
that's the main point.
so what
But
would
it's
you recommend
dangerous. Now it's
for us
dangerous.
to expand that awareness, to assist us from going from the tunnel vision of that conflict between each other to realizing that there's so much more out there in the universe and there's so much more that connects us?
That's a good question. I mean, this is an internal problem, I feel like. Ultimately, like everybody has to shift within themselves. Humanity's been deeply traumatized, we could say. We've been deeply programmed, and we've been very deeply traumatized to have this war mentality, this scarcity mentality, this fear mentality, all of these different programs that I feel are they're starting to dissolve. And that's why this is a process, because that's not in resonance with higher intelligence, with these higher dimensional beings, higher frequency beings, even a higher frequency way of life. You can't live in a scarcity, fear, war mindset and have that. So that's one of the big hurdles that humanity has to get through. And it's an internal thing. But that's why I mentioned the 100th monkey effect, because I feel like for us who are already on this path, we're the way showers. We really have to just set a good example and kind of anchor our light and do our own inner work, focus on the heart space, living in integrity, authenticity, sharing your voice. The throat chakra has been severely blocked. So we're starting to step in our power that way. And then that automatically ripples out and impacts everybody else. But they're going to have an internal shift, and we have to get rid of that. We can't go into this with a war mindset or a fear mindset, because that's just not compatible with the higher frequencies.
So you're saying we all have to have this internal shift for this disclosure to really happen?
I think so. And we've got, it's a whole infrastructure that needs to be collapsed as well. Having to do with, if we look on this on like a global scale, like the financial system needs to change. We need to have peace, not war. All of these different things. abundance, not poverty, that kind of have to shift. But I think it's all kind of going hand in hand together as we are going down this path and ascending.
Yeah, definitely.
But ultimately, it's an internal shift. And
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the external world will only reflect our internal peace,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
So I want to get back to the Three Eye Atlas now. There's this guy called Sebastian. I forgot his last name now, but he was on Gaia TV recently on Cosmic Disclosure, and then he contacted me. We did a 3-part series, and he did this whole thing on how he remote viewed that there was reptilians connected to it. I don't know if you saw that video, but it went viral. But a lot of other people, including yourself, Ismail Perez, other people saying there's a Lyran connection. Is there a way that they could then people give the answer of, oh, there's different dimensional versions of it and there's different ETs. Could you shed some light on this? Is this kind of just like spiritual bypassing where we're like, there's multiple dimensions, so there's different ETs, so everybody's valid? Or is there like one truth? You know?
Yeah. Well, I think this is my perspective. I feel, and I've learned this, I've really had to work with this being an intuitive or developing psychic abilities, because if you front load, that's going to skew your results. So you really have to get into kind of a 0 point field whenever you are remote viewing or tapping into something, kind of let go of attachment of what it could be. And also let go of any fears or feelings about what it could be, because that's going to skew your results. Your consciousness can show you whatever, or you could connect with whatever to match what you already believe or feel. So I think that can be kind of tricky, and I feel like that's probably why a lot of people are getting different results. I like the phrase that Three Eye Atlas also is acting like a mirror that is reflecting, our level of consciousness back to us. I've had very positive feelings and experiences regarding it, and a lot of people in my audience have had very beautiful experiences, because I recommended, I had a very expansive experience whenever I just set the intention to connect with the ship itself, and I connected with it, and I felt it's a conscious living thing. And also it felt like I had this whole expansion where suddenly I just understood more, and I felt like pure bliss. And it was a very like heart-centered heart frequency. It reminded me of what people report, the feelings that they have whenever they swim with like whales or dolphins. They just have this very expansive, beautiful experience, and they get downloads, stuff like that. That's what I experienced whenever I connected with it. Also, that could be a psyop to put fear into people. That could be blocking people from having beautiful experiences with it, or from being able to receive some of the upgrades and things like that. So we have to be careful with psyops and really use discernment.
So do you think, because I feel from Three Eye Atlas, if you really look at what has come from it, I'd say that only positive has come out of it so far, right? And the fact that there's all these anomalies, and now all these people that don't even think about space are thinking about space, and then
Right.
even just the way we consider how objects fly through space is changing, our understanding of science is shifting with it as well, and now more and more people, because there's so much media out there saying that could it be an alien craft, all these people that would never even have imagined that even have taken the time, just like you said, a lot of those people in the comments, like I was like, oh my God, the amount of comments I've seen where people say that, right? They're now getting an opportunity to just start contemplating, oh, could it be that we're not alone in the universe? What would happen if we were visited, right? That's positive to me.
Yeah, for sure. It's creating a massive ripple effect.
I think it's interesting that Joe Rogan is dreaming about it now.
Yeah,
because
I saw that.
that tells me that it's really more of our personal contact is still the most important thing that's here, and they must be seeding the planet now to awaken people that way, because I think that's going to have to happen even more before we have physical disclosure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because this happened with Joe Rogan. Whatever you may think about him, I don't really watch too much of his show. I haven't watched a show in a while. I'll just see clips here and there. But I did a little real on that dream that he had, but that was literally a contact experience. That was a genuine contact experience, even if he doesn't realize it. He said in the clip that it was the most real and most bizarre thing that he's ever experienced. It woke him up at 3:30 and he could not go back to sleep. And he saw these beings and they had bigger heads, but they looked human. They had bigger eyes. And he said what was really bizarre is there was a communication going on. And they basically said they were being playful with him, but they basically said, like, get comfortable with this. So that was preparing him for more contact, and that's altered his life forever. Because I know if that, like, whenever I first had a contact experience, that altered my life forever. I mean, I quit my whole old life and started down this whole new path. So if we can get more and more people like that, it's going to shift the planet. More
Yes.
quickly.
Well, I think, like, speaking on Joe, like Joe Rogan's show, I would say has been instrumental, one of the biggest pieces of disclosure information in the world, just because he's the number one podcast and he just puts on things that he's interested in. And then he's put other people onto it, like the Jesse Michaels show, that was also a really huge podcast platform that he does almost all UFO stuff now, but he has millions of people. And then Diary of a CEO, which is one of the best podcasts for business. He had Lou Elizondo on there because he's now interested in UFOs, you know?
Wow.
And so, like, the biggest platforms, even the Andrew Schultz podcast, they're like number 3 in the world. All the biggest podcasts that are just mainstream, interestingly enough, all of them are comedians mostly. They all come from the comedic world, right? Are now speaking about this information, and all it's doing is just opening people up more and more to the fact we're not alone. And what do you feel? Do you think that is first contact, is for us to just have that awareness we're not alone, and we need to be at that baseline first before we actually start interacting?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's helping. And also, while you were speaking, I was just seeing a wave, like a tidal wave of disclosure, essentially. But it's not going to be what you think. It's not necessarily an alien's not going to show up in your bedroom, or it's not going to be walking down the street or whatever. Like, it's happening in different kind of more subtle ways, but deeply impactful internally, which is the point. We have to shift our inside, our consciousness. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. It's shifting. That basically is like first contact. It's just happening to more individually right now.
And they're hitting big media people.
Yeah,
so I think these ETs have a good publicist.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, seriously. Do you feel like some people have said in the disclosure movement that we have more to fear about with each other than we do with ET life? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there has been dark interference on this planet for sure. But I think we are reaching a point where, but also we were sold out by our own government or shadow government, not necessarily the government, but the shadow government. It's all about consent, right? And what you're agreeing to and what you are aware of. So as we are becoming aware, and kind of regaining our sovereignty from all of these different control systems, then we don't have to worry about that. We can make a conscious choice. But yeah, I believe 99% of extraterrestrials are positive, and so I don't think we have to worry about anything like that. There are some trickster energies, especially if you're developing your psychic intuitive senses. So it's always good to have good spiritual hygiene, and creating sacred space and all of that. But on the big picture, I don't think we have anything to worry about. That we have a lot of envoys here, so starseeds, light workers who incarnated here for this specific purpose, and we have a lot of galactic help. Often that is us or our star families helping. So we wouldn't set up this whole big thing for it just to be a big fail. So I don't think we have anything to worry about.
I agree. Do you have any insight on, so a lot of people also say the following. They say, even the congressional members, even Tim Burchett, that they speculate on the fact that these aren't ETs, they're future humans from Earth visiting us. And as you know, as we all know here, there's many different beings. So have you had any connection with actual future humans that are time traveling back to our present moment and then maybe you can connect this to then the possible psyop story of the Greys being our future version coming back, giving us a warning.
Yeah, it's strange because it's like we have kind of a smorgasbord of different contact scenarios and situations and beings. Like there's so many different beings that have a hand or have appeared to people or have a hand in what's going on. My contact, Talia, is a future version of me. And like I said, I've seen her ship. I've videoed, photographed her ship. So I believe a lot of them are us from the future. In time, like I had this dream that was a training module. Whenever I woke up, they said this was a training module. So often whenever you have like these profound things happen in dreams where you learn something or you see ETs or see a spaceship, it's actually a training module that is helping prepare your consciousness or help teach you something. And in this dream, I saw this craft in the sky and it started coming down and it kind of turned into this like greenish colored, almost like this color, kind of plasma type, translucent. And then as it was time traveling down to land on Earth. Like that was a big message that I got. It literally had to time travel to get down here. And then it landed and these beings came out. A lot of them were Nordic Pleiadian beings. They were a little bit bigger. They had to lean over to hug me. And their bones were a little bit bigger. They were a little bit taller, very beautiful. And a lot of them were beings I've had telepathic contact with. But anyway, they had to time travel down to land on Earth. So I believe there's a lot of time travel involved with this. And then probably, beings who are just from this time period as well. But I know a lot of them are time travelers. And with the gray thing, I think that's plausible that some of them could be, because there's also multiple timelines. Time doesn't really exist. There's all of these different timelines occurring all at once. And what I'm gathering and I try to wrap my head around it the best I can. There's been a lot of time manipulation and timeline bleed through going on throughout this whole thing that we've been experiencing through this whole awakening. So I think it's plausible that some of them could be us from the future. I don't think all of them, but I think some of them might be. And we have to use discernment with that, of course. I don't think all grays are bad, but there are definitely ones that don't have our best interests in mind. I've also had interactions with positive ones as well. I've had a few interactions with positive ones, but
there are some people who are reporting that they say these are demons. These are interdimensional demons. That's how they've been ascribing them.
Right. Yeah. And then some people think that, like in the Bible and stuff, some of these beings that appeared that kind of maybe like glowed or they looked angelic, that they're angels, but they could have actually been extraterrestrials. I've seen angels and demons too, though. It all exists. It all exists.
Could you just take a detour right now and just tell us what that means? What is an angel and a demon?
That's a great point, or a great question. Well, the Galactics, they have maybe different forms of bodies in different densities and frequencies. So it kind of depends what their form is, but they are from another planet or from another galaxy or another solar system. And then the angelics, I see the seraphim a lot, and like archangels and angels, they're more interdimensional. They haven't incarnated on a planet per se. So I would say that's the difference. But I believe that all of them are interacting with humanity right now. And we have different guides and just a lot of helpers in all different sorts of dimensions.
Right. There was a government insider I watched an interview on just like a few days ago. I think it was a congressional member, and he said that how he got all this data of these UFOs, and he went to a few other congressional members, and he was like, "Look at all this stuff. We need to push more for this. We need to show up to these congressional hearings because we're not showing up to it." You know, the congressional hearings, there was a lot of people in the beginning, and every one that happens is less and less congressional members that show up. And they said, we will not look into this because these are demons. That's what the congressional members said back to them. And he was like, that is freaking insane. Like, this is like national security we're talking about here on one level. And on the other level, if you thought demons were visiting us, wouldn't you still want to research it? But they were like, no, I'm of God, so I won't even look into this. But that's how like inherently fundamental and religious our institutions are, right?
Yeah,
And
we need a shift with that. We need a shift. Because a lot of people just will completely block that out because they don't believe in it, or they think it's demons or whatever. Whenever I used to post a lot of UFO footage, I would get that all the time. They're demons. I still get it. You're talking to demons. Something that is a love and light vibration and makes you a better person, helps you to see more clearly, helps you to have these beautiful experiences, helps you to heal. I don't think that is demonic. There are definitely demons out there too, though. That's a real thing. I do believe that. But yeah, that's interesting. We need a shift with that. And I think that is a stage that we have to work through in the disclosure and awakening process.
Not to mention that demons are also an issue here on the planet, and should be researched and figured out what to do with them too. It's not like we should put our heads in the sand. Just, oh yeah, they're demons. Don't worry about them.
Right. They need to go back to the light.
They do. A global protocol.
No true words were ever said. That shadow part is a part of the light, but it forgot itself. It's been so disconnected from it. And now it's time to reconcile, when you say?
Yeah, I agree. Maybe they want to go back to the light, or they just don't realize it, Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about that. In my spiritual work that I do, I see things. This helped me activated psychic gifts. So sometimes I'll see things that are positive. Sometimes I'll see things that are negative. And I just, I'll call in assistance from the higher realms and just send it back to the light, tell it whatever it may be. If there's like a weird wonky energy or a dark entity or whatever, or even lost souls, there's been a lot of, lost souls and ghosts and things like that. Hey, if you're stuck here, or hey, if you're dark or trying to mess with me, like I do not consent, you can't hang out here, and you have to go back to the light, and you can call in backup to help escort them back. But maybe that's where they want to go. They just don't even know it. They just need to return back to source and remember that love, that light.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you're so disconnected from love, and if we don't know how, maybe you do, I don't know how fractalized we are from source. We could be even one reunion of source energy could be one fractal of a greater fractal. You know what I mean? So it's like, how many fractalizations are we, and how disconnected is that darkness to even start to recognize itself in the other, right? If we're all one, but the darkness is completely void of it, even though it originally came from that one singularity. So that's kind of, maybe that on some level is the polarity that we're playing with on this earth. Yeah. And do you feel in this new dimension that we're moving into, that I used to think that we're going to no longer have duality? Could you maybe speak on what polarity is compared to duality, and how we're going to be embodying that in the new dimension?
Well, again, I feel like it's a process. I think even like a lot of our galactic counterparts, they still, at least in the 5D, they still deal with it a little bit. I would say just not nearly as much. Like, we're dealing with it a lot. And then eventually we'll ascend past that. That might take a long time. But I think even in the 5D, like, you deal with it a little bit, at least my perspective. I mean, we have military factions of, the 5D extraterrestrials, like Ashtar Galactic Command and some of the Alliance. They still have, they're not actively going out. They're not like the Draco Reptilians who are on a conquest, but they have to defend themselves and things like that. So I think there's still a little bit of duality where we're heading, and with our galactic counterparts, but it'll be a lot less. Life will just be more blissful. We'll be in the heart space just more automatically. Our consciousness will be shifted, our perception expanded. And a big part of that process, like I was saying in the beginning, and what I believe 3i Atlas has been assisting with now and over the last few months, It's helping us to face our own inner shadows, heal and transmute that. And then that reflects out in the collective, which can look really scary whenever the light hits and then the cockroaches run, right? So like it can look like chaos, but that's just a part of the process. So it might even get a little bit messier before everything's all patched up, but that's just the way it is, from my understanding. And that makes sense if you think about it, you know. Some of these shadows are deep within us. These traumas, these programs, these wounds. And so the frequencies in the light from the sun, through Atlas, our cosmic families, all of that is penetrating into our aura. We're shedding those dense layers. We're shedding that baggage. And that's a process. And that might come up in you as symptoms of fatigue, heightened energy, emotional outbursts, depression, anxiety, bliss. Like it's a roller coaster right now. But as we continue, I believe that will level out, and then we'll just automatically be in a more blissful flow state. And even manifestation, as our frequency is rising, manifestation is happening more quickly. And the universe is literally like instant karma. Like even instant karma, instant manifestation. If you think about something, if you have a fear-based thought, I've noticed recently, automatically something manifests, something shifts. So you're getting that like instant feedback from the universe. And we have to learn how to master that first, you know, because we're co-creators. So if we have all those fears and those traumas and those pains that are kind of holding us back or holding us in a lower frequency, and all of a sudden we're become master manifestors, or everything in the 5D, which manifests very quickly, oh my God, that'd be hell on earth. So we have to really like clear and heal and transmute and work with that. But yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautifully said. Joan, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about all of this. In essence, it's like we're really being brought to wake up quickly. And I noticed, like you said, instant manifestation. You know how that shows up for me? I get this urge to call my daughter, and then she's in a crystal shop talking about me at the same moment I call her.
Wow.
Or I get a thought about something, and I get an ad on my cell phone, on my Facebook account about what I'm thinking about. Now that is the scarier part. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but it's like someone is eating my brain. And there's an ad right there, and it happens every single day now. And little telepathic things, like Neil and I could be talking and we finish each other's sentences, or we used to all the time. But it happens with more people than just people I'm close to now. So is this part of that awakening, you think?
Right. Yeah. Telepathy. We're all connected through consciousness. We're all connected, and we're connected with our star family too. Like we're all connected through consciousness. So that's why you can connect with them, or even connect with 3i Atlas as another example. Like everything's connected. So that's why you can tap into those things, or even remote view those different things. But yeah, telepathy increasing for sure. This is helping to activate more of our intuition and some of these dormant gifts and abilities that we've been disconnected from. But really, it's just part of us, and it's natural.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of, if this world is kind of a simulated reality, or in the fact that whether it's simulated or not, the fact is we're all made out of subatomic particles that are vibrating constantly, and that's not what you look like or this computer looks like. So there's some sort of thing. But we're getting to a point where the veils are getting so thin that we're now realizing we're the coders of the simulation, and we're able to we're unconsciously coding it immediately in a quicker way, because we're at the event horizon about to go in the wormhole to another dimension. And when you're at that event horizon, the reflections are insane, right? And so I love what you said, because I use the same analogy when you said shedding the baggage. I always say, like, when you die, you can't take your stuff with you. And we're literally dying with our physical bodies. We're reemerging, resurrecting into this new reality. But the baggage isn't our like gold chains and stuff. Our baggage is our traumas. So it's like, And what happens when a trauma gets expressed and when you go to another dimension? It doesn't just magically disappear and say, thank you, I'm gone. It comes out and expresses itself in whichever way it needs to be expressed. You can do it intentionally and consciously, or if you aren't conscious of yourself, that's when it comes out in these horrific ways, right? And that's what we're seeing. That's what I feel we're seeing collectively with, Epstein and all these different things happening in the world. It's this collective trauma release, and it's not because the world sucks. It's literally because the world has been traumatized, and now the trauma needs to come to the surface.
Right. And we all have to look at it, and people are going to have a really hard time with some of these things. Like going with the trafficking thing, touching on that briefly, like whenever Sound of Freedom came out, that movie, that did it. I mean, it took me, I was literally like depressed for months because I had to come to terms with that had been happening on the planet, and then also to help heal that. But we have to look at it, even though it hurts, so that we can fix it and ascend above it. And with the galactics, so they're of a higher frequency, right? At least the ones that we want to talk to. There's probably lower frequency ones too, but the benevolent beings that are assisting us in our higher selves, our counterparts, our future selves, it can even hurt them to be around us if we're very negative.
Yeah.
Like there's such a frequency, there's such a difference, and they're highly telepathic. So they can feel what we feel. They know what we're thinking. So that can even be harmful to them. And it can be harmful to us if we are introduced to them too quickly, because their higher frequency causes all of our stuff, our baggage, to come out very rapidly. So that's another reason why it's happening in stages. I had rapid contact starting in 2020. And I took a full year off, probably a little over a year, to work with my star family. And I'm telling you, it was not fun. Some of it was amazing and beautiful, and I learned so much and magical. But then a lot of it was, I called it Starseed Boot Camp, because it was not fun. I had to really go in. They'd be like, all right, I'd have this spontaneous regression of being burned at the stake as a witch, which was blocking my throat chakra and keeping me from being able to speak about my experiences. They're like, you're going to be on YouTube and you have to heal this before you can move forward. But I I felt all that pain and I had to heal it. So like, that's just one example, but I did a lot of those things, and they worked with me very closely. But it was just like I was on a fast track to it. So that's part of why this is happening in stages. And it was their higher frequency, like their love and their guidance, that really helped shake that up and helped me move through a lot very quickly.
Interesting. A lot of people need to have that healed, that trauma. And it's not just women, but men too, that trauma of being burned alive or
yeah.
For speaking truth. And so many of us are speaking truth now. And I know my guides had to tell me and reassure me that I wasn't going to be burned this time. Yeah. But we have that. How do we heal that?
I mean, if for anybody listening, if that just got you emotional right now, or if you have a feeling that might have happened to you, it most likely did. It happened to millions, I think even billions of people that they murdered for that. And it wasn't necessarily being a witch. You could have been a healer. You could have even talked to your guides or worked with herbs or whatever, So it happened to a lot of us. And then that really blocks your throat chakra. That makes you hide, afraid to shine your light. And we've had to do that to protect ourselves. So I think coming to that awareness that is most likely something that you've experienced, and working with your throat chakra. You can work with your solar plexus also, do some meditations on that, healing meditations. I actually do have a Healing the Witch Wound video on my YouTube channel too. So that goes through, and I do a guided meditation to help you through that. But doing some energy work like that, and reflecting on it, even journaling if you would like to. That's a big one. That's held a lot of us back. Definitely.
I have so many friends that have all said that they have that memory of being burnt at the stake, right? It makes sense because they're the ones doing this work now, right? They're coming back with their gifts. Yeah.
Right.
All right, so I would love to now get weird with these questions a little bit, okay?
Oh God, go for it, Neil.
Like we weren't already.
No, we're gonna go deep now, okay?
Okay.
All right, there we go. Let's start with this one. So often when I woke up to this in 2001, and over this time, I've heard so much information, and so many timelines conflict. There's the Lyran timeline, the Lyran series and Pleiadians genetically doing something on Earth. There's the Anunnaki timeline. There's Atlantis. There's Lemuria, and all these different like ages. And sometimes it doesn't make sense that it could be like this. So, what's your thoughts on one? Is it possible that we're all coming from different timelines here, and we have different Earths, we have different stories, and then also does that have to do with the increase in the population? There's a population so large on Earth right now because people from different timelines are coming because it's an opportunity to transcend trauma.
Wow, that's a fantastic question. And I've wondered the same thing because it does seem like there's a lot of conflicting historical narrative. I definitely would agree with the timeline shifting or people even coming in that maybe weren't there before. Like I've had this downloaded experience before where something in this specific example, it was something really big and difficult that happened to somebody else in the community that shifted a whole trajectory and allowed more things to come to light. And I randomly got this whole downloaded message that they volunteered basically like just yesterday, even though that event happened years ago, they just volunteered to do that because it altered the timeline in a positive way. So even though for us, it happened years ago, it really just happened, like they just shifted, the timeline just shifted to that because that would help heal more, just like just now. So I think we're experiencing a lot of that, and it can be kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, well, that segues into another question, but since you just said that, we're gonna take a detour. So now can we talk about Orion a little bit? The Orion Wars, Orion trauma.
Sure.
I've done whole series on Orion, 7-week series, had all these people on Orion, and one thing that is the conclusion is it happened a long time ago, right? But we're on Earth, and people are like parroting these traumas still, right?
Yeah.
From the trauma. So what's the connection there?
That's also a great question because I've also wondered, okay, so same with the Lyran Wars too. I do have some memories from the Orion Wars, very traumatic ones that I was kind of downloaded with. And it took me months suddenly I had really bad PTSD actually. So that's what I'm saying. Contact isn't always fun. Doing your inner work isn't always fun. It took me months to work through that. But the Lyran Wars also, and that's one that a lot of starseeds and light workers have a background in, and that's still affecting them. So I'm like, okay, if this happened so long ago, like why are we experiencing it still? Why are we cleaning it up now? From my understanding, well, this battle essentially has been going on since Lyra. This has been a very long, drawn out thing. The Orion Wars was another big blip of it. Lyran Wars, but it's like a karmic. There's a lot of karma involved from my understanding, and Earth also from my understanding is an attempt at like a peace treaty to finally heal all of it and come together. And that could also be why there's so many of these different races, that we have DNA from all these different races, because we're like the child of all of
the
them.
UN.
Yeah, to help bring peace.
I agree with that so wholeheartedly. And now let's talk about the Lyran Wars because I've never really gone deep into it, but I'm assuming is the Lyran Wars got anything to do with the same thing as the Book of Lyra, the Prism of Lyra, where the first human template came into Lyra, and then they split into multiple planets. Those planets ended up having a war with each other, and that was the first exodus of humans outside of Lyra. Is that what happened in Lyra? And maybe you can also speak about, is our original human template from there? Is that a home, like all of humanity's home?
I believe it is the original template, and that's where we all come from. It's branched off. The memories that I have from Lyra are, well, the Draco coming in through a portal from another universe, and some of the Lyrans striking. Now, I don't know if other people have really talked about this, but some of the Lyrans striked a deal with them, not realizing how bad it was going to be, because they massacred many, many, many millions of Lyrans. But we're fulfilling a karma having to do with that. Essentially, some of the Lyrans accidentally betrayed their own kind by striking a deal with these reptilians. But yeah, sorry. I don't know if that answered your question. That just kind of popped up in my head. But yeah, it's been a very long thing that we've been dealing with, that kind of trying to like recorrect that and bring peace with that. But yes, from my understanding, the original humanoid template comes from Lyra, and we're all descendants of that.
Yeah, it makes sense. It also makes sense that there has been so much craziness and chaos and experience in the universe because Source wanted to experience itself infinitely, and part of the infinite expression is just all types of drama, right? And now Earth is like, I jokingly say, but kind of seriously, that Star Trek: The Final Frontier. I'm like, no, Earth is the final frontier.
Right.
This is like the duel, like of our own inner selves. And all these beings that maybe had separate DNAs and were at war with each other now have a joint ancestor, and it's us.
Yeah, because we've got the reptilian DNA too, or the reptilian brain,
Yeah, exactly.
So we're a combination. And that's probably why some of these extraterrestrials are scared of us, because we have, we're street smart. A lot of us, we're street smart. We're scrappy. Yeah. But we also have the capability to create beautiful music, we're so creative. We can be so loving, but we can also fight.
Range.
Yeah.
Well, we're hybrids after all. Okay. But why would they be afraid of us, Lily?
Because we're scrappy. We can be scrappy because there's war, the nuclear wars, that have blasted holes into other dimensions. Yep. That's also why we can't have open contact too soon, because who knows what some of these people would do. Some of the humans would do. They'd blast them. I'm sure they've already probably killed a lot. You hear of like the UFO crash retrievals. How did the UFOs crash?
Oh, we brought them down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some of them could have been accidental, but I think at least some of them were purposefully shot down.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Greer says, and other people said, that one of the first technologies that they achieved or retrieved in the 40s was a frequency technology from an ET craft that was able to pull down other craft.
You're right.
Distort space-time. And when you do nuclear weapons, you're splitting the subatomic world. The universe isn't outside of us. The universe is inside the subatomic world. So the best way to destroy an external planet might be by going through the wormhole, right? Mm-hmm. Creating that ripple. And basically, it's almost like you have a hard drive and you blow up a little mini nuclear bomb in that hard drive, mm-hmm. and then the rest of the code kind of like experiences it. I feel maybe that's happening.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's a good reason to just be careful with us.
Yeah.
Until we mature.
We're full range beings, right? Because a lot of these beings, they exist here in these higher vibes. We exist in all vibes. So they're not even at the frequencies where they can even combat us if we chose to combat. If we chose to fight, right?
Yeah, that's a good perspective. Yeah. Or thought.
All right, here's one more weird question, okay? All right. So I've always thought of this and I've never got a good answer. Well, there is no good answer. Every answer is good. Let's just say that. Okay. But if there was never a beginning because all things exist at once, how come there's a beginning?
Because we're choosing to experience that so that we can experience the linear path and kind of make sense of it. I think it's just kind of not, I don't know if I'd call it an experiment, but just a way to experience. And so Source wanted to forget itself so that it could re-find itself or remember itself. So I think that goes hand in hand, and why we chose to break off into these smaller fragments to have these different experiences. At some point, I think it's gotten a bit out of hand. And, we're kind of course correcting on that. But ultimately, that was the point, to experience duality and separation. Similar with time, becoming that far fragmented, and so that we could fully experience this reality, like we had to do it in linear time. And what's interesting is the film Arrival, as she is learning, the main character, as she's learning to communicate with these extraterrestrials, she starts experiencing the past, present, and future, like at once. Like she can dip in and out of that. And I just found that super fascinating. It's like as her consciousness was expanding, and technically her frequency would be expanding and communicating with these higher intelligences, she was able to tap into the past, present, and future and see kind of visions of it. You get these feelings about it. I think we can all do that, and we will be able to do that more, like developing telepathy as, we are raising into the 5D and above.
Right.
But right now we're just experiencing this very limited reality.
Little portion of it all.
Yeah, just a little portion.
What are your thoughts on, are we like our ancestors? Are we the ancestors of these beings and also the descendants at the same time?
Yeah, I think so.
Do we like become them in the future?
Yeah, well, it's so trippy. Like, it is so trippy. Like I said, my main contact who trained me, she's me from the future. And then one of my other contacts who I speak to a lot, she is me from a parallel Earth. She's an inner Earth being. She's a Lemurian and Atlantean descendant. But she's me. And she's also from a parallel Earth. But I'll see her. She dips in and out of this planet as well. Like I'll literally see her with my eyes open sometimes. So it's quantum. That's what they say. It's quantum.
That's the best answer. It's quantum. That explains it all.
Yeah, literally.
Just label the show, it's quantum. It'll explain it all.
That's like right. The new expression of like the new age, like the new slang.
Literally, like I've tried understanding some of the interesting, because I was also experiencing a procedure once where I felt physically my body, a procedure being done on my body. Through my clothes, I'm laying down in bed, and there was a procedure, and I was in contact. They were assisting me with something. And I'm like, how are you doing that? From your ship. It's quantum. We can work on you from here. But it's like folding space-time, and then they were affecting me right there on my bed in my room. It's wild. And some other things I've tried understanding, and that's their response. It's quantum. I was like, I wish I could really fully understand, but we're expanding and starting to be able to comprehend this sort of thing. But it's, we're coming from this 3D and it's 5D and above. There's just so much more. There's so much more.
We were not made to understand this.
That's what they said. They were like, you've understood it before and you will again, but you're experiencing this reality right now and it's quantum. That's all you need to know.
I mean, it's the whole new world of science, right? Quantum physics was only rediscovered in the early 1900s, right? Yeah. And it was only discovered firstly for external effects. What does it do externally? What can we do with quantum physics? And I feel like in the last 5 to 6 years is the first time that science is now looking at what the quantum effects are internally, us being quantum beings.
I mean, that's the key.
Yeah.
We have a great question here. I'm going to put it up for you, Lily.
Hi, Beth.
If we call back our fractals, how do we know that we aren't taking the soul fractum from another aspect of us, causing that us death?
Wow, I never even thought of it in that way. I know that soul retrieval and fractals is important. Maybe that's part of the experiment or the mission that we are experiencing here on Earth. Because I've gotten the message before, you can't really ascend until you become whole. We're very fractured right now. So maybe, okay, I'm just like kind of getting this right now. I'm seeing that we are also healing that version of us and helping them to become more whole on that timeline. It's quantum, we'll say. But us healing us, I think, is only helping them as well. We're not, because we are the same. It's not taking something from that other version of us. And like, parallel lifetime, the what popped in my head was a memory from the Orion Wars, actually. And a very traumatic experience I had in the Orion Wars popped in my head. And I reclaimed that fractal of myself that was very deeply traumatized, but I'm also healing that version. So it's good for both.
If there's infinite parallel versions of ourselves in this reality, when she asked that question, I thought of the movie The One. Have you seen that movie with Jet Li? Okay, you got to watch it. So in The One, he jumps from, it's like it was a Hollywood movie, Jet Li. He jumps from parallel reality to parallel reality, and he kills all versions of himself. And every time he kills himself, so the whole movie is him having battles with himself in different lives. And because he's this evil villain, and every time he kills a version of himself, that soul emerges into him, and he becomes more powerful.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm not saying like the negative part of it all, but it's just interesting, like that whole component of we're pulling in those parts of our souls.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of time manipulation if we're even talking about like this reality here, not even like other lifetimes or past lifetimes or future lifetimes. There's been a lot of time travel and time manipulation since the 40s, maybe even before. I don't know if you know about like what the Nazis were working on, and apparently there's been time travel and time manipulation going on for decades and decades and decades.
Yeah.
And you have like CERN and all of that. So, and then you have like covert, some of these secret space programs and things like that, which is also fracturing and creating multiple versions of us. So that makes sense that those are collapsing and we are returning to ourselves and becoming more whole. The one main true ascending timeline, and all of those other ones are collapsing. It makes us more powerful, because if you're like think of it like you're spread so thin, you're not functioning at 100% because you're fractured.
Right. So if there's infinite power realities of ourselves in the third dimension, could it be that we're collapsing these because there's less parallel realities in the fifth dimension? And we're taking a wholer part of ourselves there. Like instead of being infinite fifth dimensional Earths, could there be less? And then the higher we go in dimensions, there's less until you become, part of the one again.
I'm theoretically or symbolically, I think yes. Like that's part of what we're doing. We're becoming more whole by these artificial timelines. And more negative timelines and dark loops. And Laura Eisenhower does a lot of great work on this, these kind of like negative trauma loops and things like that, and some of this dark technology. I think all that's collapsing so we can become more whole. And we need that. We need to collect our light to be able to ascend up into the higher realm, into the fifth dimension. But I feel like in the fifth dimension, there will still be parallel realities, but it won't be hurting us.
Yeah.
Like it is now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because in the third dimension, we have the full range of bandwidth of frequency, right? The fifth dimension, we're kind of like at this higher bandwidth. Therefore, our expression is probably more wholesome or more connected.
Wholesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This reminds me of so there's an ancient text because, as a lot of people know, Yeshua, Jesus, had some time in India, right? And there's Buddhist text talking about Yeshua there in the last years of his life, and there's this ancient text from like 700 AD that speaks about how Buddha actually had been meditating like he meditated in this life, many other lives, doing soul retrieval. And the only reason why he came in and was able to meditate and achieve enlightenment like that was he had collected parts of his soul that the only difference between him and a regular person on earth was he had more fractals within himself when he was born. And it like referenced Yeshua as well. So it kind of like, I feel that's what a lot of these prophets are, rather than being the son of God and things like that. They've done that work for many lifetimes, and now they're incarnated here and able to like tap in more deeply.
Right. That's amazing. And yeah. And that gives you, I've done a lot of work with this where I will activate different parts of myself too, where like even calling in gifts from other lifetimes to be activated within me because you've done it before. You've been it. It could be Andromedan gifts, like the Andromedan and my Andromedan self embodying and activating that really helped with my psychic development. Pleiadian, like healing, it could be different depending on what you were doing in those different lifetimes, but you can actually call that back and activate that within you now. And it's like almost like the Matrix. Whenever you're getting downloaded, Neo's downloading the ability to fight and do kung fu and all that. You can basically do that, but calling from other aspects of you where you already knew that wisdom.
Yeah. Or why do people feel deeper connection to certain star races if Earth, from what a lot of people have shared and have heard, if a lot of people on Earth are like masters and we've been almost everything in the universe, and Earth was kind of a gift for us because we wanted to experience something novel, which was like amnesia, I guess. If that's the case, and say that I've been like 20 Palladian lives, I've been like 8 Arcturian lives, why do I feel deeper connection to Arcturus when I've been everything?
Right. I think it depends on who you were. Partly depends on who you were before you volunteered to incarnate here. At that exact moment. Like I was Talia. I was the Andromedan being. I feel a very strong connection with them. I'm also Pleiadian. I'm also Lyran. So that plays a big part. I'm really connected with them because that's who I was whenever I said, okay, I got to go down to Earth and help them out. So we're going to do this mission, and my family, the Andromedan Council, is going to help me. But also, it depends on your unique blueprint and what you are bringing through. Like we need the Lyran frequencies, we need the Lyran wisdom, we need the Orion wisdom, we need the Arcturian wisdom. So it's your unique signature, what you've learned and gathered, and what you are bringing through, like what you chose to bring through more of. And I resonate with different races at different times. Like there will be a period where I am embodying more of the Pleiadian aspect of me and more, I connect more with that energy. And there's times when the Lyran energy comes through more, or, etc. So I think all those things play in a factor. Somebody put 117 in the chat. That's a number I see a lot.
It's 117 somewhere in the world, probably in Hawaii or something. So, okay, we're gonna probably close out in a few minutes here. Joan, you want to jump in? You have some questions, and I have a final question too.
I'm going to let you go for your final question. Okay. I'm finding this amazingly interesting.
Yeah, because I knew you're super galactic, but we've never had a chance to really drop in deep and talk, So yeah. I was just like, let's just ask you everything.
Let's just you had a list, I could tell.
The biggest questions I've ever had in my whole life, I'm asking you right now.
So, I love it. These are great questions.
All right, so first, before we do the last question, let's just talk about the New Living Expo for a second. And I would love to just take a segue here, let everyone know that Lily is going to be at the New Living Expo, which is Portal to Ascension production. If you don't know about Portal to Ascension, we do around 70 events a year. around 80% of them online. We do an annual cruise experience. We're going to Greece next year. We have a conference in Glastonbury, England. We produce a lot of content, and on our website, portaltoascension.org, you get free hours, hundreds of hours of free content. But I just recently purchased the New Living Expo, which was the first spiritual expo ever created in the U.S. from 1982. Wow. And I'm really excited because it's a legacy event where we get to take into the future. But Lily is one of the first people that I reached out to be a part of it. And we're really going to be taking this thing to the whole new level and bringing in galactics and really making it more modern. Because in some ways, a lot of these events I've seen have kind of been really stuck in the past. It's time to bring in this new energy. I feel that's what you bring, Lily. Like, it's really refreshing just to hear you and see what you're all about. So I'd love for you just for a second, maybe just to share about you coming to the expo, and you're going to be doing a presentation on Friday and a workshop. Do you have any idea what you're going to present on?
Yeah, I was just reflecting on this. So I mean, I have, my specialty is making contact. I have a deep connection with galactics in activating these gifts in myself. I was not born with these gifts. I mean, they were dormant, but I didn't activate the telepathy, clairvoyance, healing gifts and abilities until I started having contact in 2020, and I was taught. So I'll probably do a presentation on that, share a little bit about making contact, share some really activating footage because the frequencies channel through the footage. My ears, so that's how I started, I was taking photos and videos of these craft that were appearing. My ears would ring from just looking at the footage. It like impacts you because that comes through. Just like if you look at a beautiful piece of artwork, like it impacts you. So I'll probably share some of that. I may go into how to develop telepathy, how to make contact, different star races and things like that. But also we'll see what happens before April, because if there's some crazy new thing going on, I'm going to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. A lot can change. I feel like I'm getting some hits on April being a really good shift, and other intuitives have been picking up on April as having a really big shift coming in April. So I think it'll be a really potent month. So we'll also just see what comes up.
Yeah, 100%. Things are moving so rapidly right now. You're like, right. No idea what's going to happen next. Right. All right. So closing question. Okay. Who in your opinion are the first beings we're going to interact with, and why?
So I get a good feeling about Alpha Centauri, but I think it's also very plausible the Pleiadians or the Nordics. It's going to be some beings that look like us. So the Pleiadians, they're very interactive with Earth. The Alpha Centaurians, their stars very close to us. They're in a lot of films. So I feel like we've been kind of pre-programmed with that. And they might discover life on Alpha Centauri. They've already been looking at it. So I think it's going to be one of them. But they're going to have to look similar to us. So I think the Nordic looking beings would be a really good first choice.
Yeah, makes sense.
Weren't the Venusians already here in the 50s? A lot of people claim to be channeling them, and pictures of them are showing up everywhere.
Yeah. Commander Valthor. Mm-hmm. And he looked human. He looked very human too. So yeah, the Venusians. I don't even think about them. Like, yes, they're amazing too. Apparently they live a higher frequency, but also apparently there's a whole underground world on planet Venus. So I do have contact with them sometimes. That could be a great candidate too, actually.
Yeah, in Venus, in the cloud layer in the atmosphere, it's 75 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a whole section of the cloud layer that's 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and there's phosphorus coming out of that area. And just like how on 3i Atlas, there's something that can only be done through industrial ways. The only way phosphorus can ever be created in that way is through industrial use or the decay of organic matter in the same area that's 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And NASA found that information out in the 70s. but they shelved it until 5 years ago when they relooked at their data. So there's so many anomalies
Yeah.
in just in our own solar system.
Exactly. There's actually a lot of life in our solar system.
Yeah.
There's a lot more going on Mars too, and Jupiter.
We're in for a crazy ride. So, okay, I think it'll be good for you to close with this one, actually. Some people ask me this on podcasts as well, and I think it would be great because there are a lot of people that are down and out, depressed, sad, seeing the craziness in the world, angry at all the stuff that's coming out. How do you maintain hope for a beautiful world when you see so much craziness and chaos and corruption everywhere?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, faith. You have to have faith, but I know that nothing can stop what is coming. And I've seen a lot of just very positive, beautiful things. And it's also, we're co-creating that reality. So what are you choosing to experience and co-create each day? We are such powerful beings that you can live on whatever timeline you want to, really. Just like, it's like that instant manifestation that we were talking about, or that instant karma. So I choose to focus on the positive, not blindly, because I have faith and I know for a fact. I think we're living in, not to get religious, but biblical times. Like this, literally nothing can stop this awakening process. So, it might get a little bit messy here and there, but that's just a part of the process. Like we were talking about also, like the shadows coming to the light. That's just a part of the process.
Beautiful. It's inevitable, right, Joan?
Right. And we're in new beginnings. Starting January 1st, new beginnings for the next cycle.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And is the animal the horse for this next year?
Yeah. Fire horse.
Okay, that's so interesting because in the beginning of 2025, so just about a year ago, I saw a white horse appear, and it was like prophecy. It was such a strong message that things are about to change. And the white horse symbolizing like purity, Christ consciousness, cleansing. It was a very powerful message. And so we were in the year of the snake, and that reminds me, like the snake is often seen for transformation, also shedding your old skin. And now we're moving into the year of the horse. Wow.
We're galloping off into the sunset. Okay. Yeah. I like to say with the skin of the snake is that what does the snake do? It sheds its skin. But what does it realize after it shed its skin? It was beautiful all along.
Right.
And that's part of the whole transformation. We're like, oh my God, what's going to happen when we're naked? We don't have our skin anymore. But we're still whole and complete.
Right.
I'm not looking forward to that moment then.
It's happened. Well, ultimately, there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of beauty in store for us. Humanity's been through a tough time, not just in thousands of years, but just the last 6 years. It's freaking crazy, right? Yeah. So it's time for us to bring some light into this world. And Lily, you're doing such amazing work. You're so incredible. I really just appreciate all that you do. And just the fact that so many people are gravitating to your work right now just shows how in alignment you are and how much authenticity you have with what you share. So appreciate you. I'm really excited to work with you and see you at the expo as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And ditto. I'm looking forward to seeing you there, Lily. This has been phenomenally interesting and fascinating.
Thank you. I can't wait to meet everybody in person.
I know.
That's why we go to these events, by the way. Star family, Galactic family, all of you come out and meet us because we can't wait to meet you either.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Lily, thank you so much. And everybody tuning in, thank you as well. We're going to close the stream now. So we're going to close it with the trailer for the expo, and we'll catch you guys next time. So have a beautiful rest of your day. Take care. See you guys.
The world is changing faster than ever before. And within this evolution, a new consciousness is rising. At the New Living Expo, thousands gather to expand consciousness, explore new conscious technologies, ancient wisdom, and the future of human potential. Immerse yourself in 3 days of heart-expanding wisdom and mind-binding awareness, with over 90 speakers sharing tools to awaken your highest potential. 125 exhibitors, 3,000 attendees, awakened souls, unite in one powerful weekend of learning, healing, and connection. Experience transformation, connection, and the next chapter of human evolution. It is time for humanity to awaken. Join us at newlivingexpo.com.